First Contact Deception Commander Alara Chen stared at the anomalous reading on her monitor for the third time, ensuring it wasn't a glitch. The signal pulsed with mathematical precision, too ordered to be natural cosmic noise. After 15 years, commanding Frontier Station Epsilon, she'd seen strange phenomena before, but nothing like this. "Kepler, run another diagnostic," she ordered the station's AI. "Diagnostic complete, Commander." Signal confirmed as artificial in origin, approximately 0.8 light-years from our position and approaching rapidly. Ilara's heart raced. First contact. After decades of silence following humanity's expansion beyond their solar system, they might finally have found intelligent life, or it had found them. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "General Wade, this is Commander Chen at Epsilon. We've detected what appears to be an artificial signal approaching our position." Wade's weathered face appeared on screen. "Hostile?" "Unknown, sir. The signature doesn't match any known propulsion system. It's elegant. Far more advanced than our technology. Maintain position and observation. I'm dispatching the diplomatic vessel Harmony to your coordinates. Until they arrive, you're authorized to establish communication, but not to reveal strategic information. Understood?" "Yes, sir." Ilara nodded, feeling the weight of this historic moment on her shoulders. 3 days later, the alien vessel appeared at the edge of their scanner range. It resembled a massive silver leaf, shimmering against the backdrop of stars, its surface seamlessly constructed without visible seams or joints. It dwarfed Epsilon Station by at least 10 times. When the Harmony arrived, Ambassador Lucia Santos immediately began transmission of the standard first contact package: mathematical sequences, basic human physiology, simplistic cultural information. To everyone's surprise, the alien vessel responded almost immediately with perfect English. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Arcturus Collective. We come in peace and mutual cooperation." The first delegation from the vessel called themselves Arcturians, tall, elegant beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors slightly as they moved. Their leader, identified as Overseer Talix, expressed great interest in human culture and technology. "Our civilizations have much to share," Talix said during the initial meeting aboard Epsilon. "The collective has traveled between stars for millennia, and we have encountered many species. Few show the potential of humanity." Ilara stood at attention throughout the diplomatic pleasantries, studying the aliens carefully. Something about their perfectly modulated speech and expressions left her uneasy. Over the next 2 weeks, strange incidents began occurring throughout the station. Power fluctuations affected critical systems. Data packets went missing from secure servers. 2 crew members reported equipment malfunctions while performing maintenance near the section where the Arcturians had been granted temporary quarters. "These problems began after our visitors arrived," Ilara told her second-in-command, Lieutenant Rivera, as they reviewed security logs in her office. Each incident allowed them access to different station systems. Rivera frowned. "That's circumstantial, Commander. Ambassador Santos would say you're jeopardizing the diplomatic mission with unfounded suspicions." "Perhaps." Ilara pulled up schematics of the station's defensive grid. "But explain why our visitors always seem to be nearby when our shield generators or weapon systems experience random malfunctions." The following day, Ilara noticed Talix and another Arcturian lingering near the quantum communication array, Earth's most advanced technology for instant communication across vast distances. When she approached, they smoothly shifted conversation to inquiries about human music. That night, Ilara couldn't sleep. She bypassed normal protocols and ran her own diagnostic on station systems, using her command codes to access sealed records. What she found chilled her blood. Microscopic probes, not of human manufacture, had been placed throughout the station's critical infrastructure. They were methodically scanning and transmitting data about Earth's defensive capabilities, propulsion technology, and communication systems. She took her findings directly to Ambassador Santos, who was hosting the Arcturians for a cultural exchange session. These scans have mapped our entire defensive network, Ilara explained, displaying the evidence on her tablet. They're particularly focused on our shield modulation frequencies and weapons targeting systems. Santos glanced nervously at the nearby Arcturians who were admiring Earth artwork. Commander, these accusations are serious. The Arcturians have offered to share technology far beyond our current capabilities. Their medical advances alone could eliminate disease on Earth. At what cost? Ilara pressed. Why would an advanced civilization need to secretly scan our defenses if their intentions are peaceful? Perhaps because humans have a long history of violence, came Talix's smooth voice from behind them. The Arcturian approached with fluid grace. We merely seek to understand potential threats. Surely you would do the same? Santos quickly intervened. Overseer, please understand the commander's concerns come from her duty to protect. I understand perfectly, Talix cut in, eyes fixed on Ilara. Security is a primary directive for all intelligent species. Later that evening, Ilara received orders from Earth Command. She was being temporarily relieved of duty pending psychological evaluation. Lieutenant Rivera would assume command until her return. This is absurd, she protested during the video conference with General Wade. The evidence is clear. The evidence is circumstantial at best, Wade interrupted. The Arcturus Collective has offered technological exchanges that could advance humanity by centuries. The Diplomatic Corps and Earth Security Council have voted unanimously to proceed with the alliance. Ilara leaned closer to the screen. Sir, requesting permission to speak freely. Wade sighed but nodded. We're being played. The Arcturians haven't shared any actual technology, just promises. Meanwhile, they've gathered detailed intelligence on our defensive capabilities across the frontier network. Your concerns are noted, Commander. Nevertheless, your relief order stands. Report to Earth for evaluation on the next transport. Ilara spent her last night on Epsilon downloading every scrap of data she could access. As the station's commander, her clearance level was extensive, though Rivera had already locked her out of several critical systems. She was packing the last of her personal items when the station shuddered violently. The lights flickered, then emergency systems activated with a blaring alarm. Multiple hull breaches detected, Kepler announced. Unknown energy signatures targeting primary defensive systems. Ilara grabbed her sidearm and emergency pack. The corridors were filled with panicked crew members rushing to emergency stations. She fought her way to the command center, where Rivera was frantically trying to coordinate a response. Report, she shouted over the chaos. Rivera looked up, his face pale with shock. The Arcturian vessel opened fire without warning. Our shields failed instantly. They knew exactly where to target. Through the main viewport, Ilara watched as the elegant alien ship methodically disabled Epsilon's defensive systems. Additional Arcturian vessels had appeared, moving with purpose toward the jump point to Earth. Get me Earth Command, Ilara ordered, taking her rightful place at the command station. No one challenged her authority in the crisis. Communications are jammed, the operations officer reported. Quantum array is offline. Rivera looked at her desperately. Orders, Commander. Ilara's mind raced through options. They were outgunned and outmatched, but she refused to surrender her people without a fight. Initiate Protocol Omega, she commanded. Emergency evacuation to the mining outpost on Proxima B, arm all personnel, and transfer all data on Arcturian. Vulnerabilities to my secure tablet. Vulnerabilities? Rivera questioned. We don't have. During their scans, our systems were also collecting data on them, Ilara revealed. I had Kepler running background analysis on their biology and technology. If we survive this, we'll need every advantage. As evacuation pods launched from the dying station, Ilara watched the Arcturian armada advancing toward Earth. She had seen through their deception too late. Now she could only hope there was still time to make a difference. They think they've eliminated the threat, she told the small group of officers huddled in her escape pod. But they've just awakened humanity's greatest strength, our refusal to surrender. The pod accelerated away from the station just as explosions tore through its central hub. Their frontier had fallen. But the war for Earth's survival was just beginning. Betrayal and resistance. Ilara watched the distant flashes of light that marked the end of Frontier Station Epsilon. The escape pod's minimal life support hummed around her and the 5 crew members who had made it out with her. Lieutenant Rivera sat beside her, his face illuminated by the emergency lighting, shock still evident in his eyes. "I should have listened," he said quietly. "We all should have," Ilara replied, checking the pod's navigation system. The mining outpost on Proxima B was still 12 hours away at their current speed. But regret won't help us now. The emergency broadcast channel suddenly crackled to life. A grim-faced General Wade appeared on the small screen. "This is Earth Command to all military personnel. The Arcturus Collective has launched a coordinated attack against our defenses. Multiple frontier stations have been destroyed. Their fleet has bypassed our outer defenses using..." He paused, his expression hardening. "Using security codes provided during diplomatic exchanges." Ilara exchanged glances with Rivera. The Arcturians had played their role perfectly. In light of the overwhelming technological superiority demonstrated by the Arcturus forces, and to prevent further loss of life, Earth's Security Council has officially surrendered. All military personnel are ordered to stand down and comply with Arcturus authorities. This is not a time for heroics. Survival is our priority now. The transmission ended, leaving stunned silence in the pod. "They surrendered," Technician Yuri Petrov whispered in disbelief. "Earth surrendered without a fight?" "They fought," Rivera countered. "But the Arcturians knew exactly how to counter every defense. They had all our codes, our protocols, our weaknesses." Ilara closed the communication channel. "Change of plans. We're not heading to Proxima B. The outpost will be one of the first places they look for survivors." "Where then?" asked Dr. Mei Zhang, the station's chief medical officer. "The abandoned mining facility on Deimos. Mars's defenses were dismantled last year due to budget cuts. It should be off their immediate radar." 48 hours later, their pod docked at the derelict facility on Deimos, one of Mars's small moons. The group had picked up 3 more escape pods during their journey, bringing their number to 23, a tiny fraction of Epsilon's original crew of 300. The facility was cold and dark, but its nuclear generator was still functional. Within hours, they had basic life support and lighting in the central section. Ilara gathered everyone in what had once been the mining operations mess hall. "Earth has surrendered, but we haven't," she told them, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "I've analyzed the data we collected on the Arcturians during their time on Epsilon. There's something here that could give us an advantage." She displayed a holographic readout from her tablet. "Their biology is fascinating. The color shifting in their skin isn't just decorative, it's how they communicate on a deeper level than speech. More importantly, it's tied to their nervous system." Dr. Zhang leaned forward. "These readings suggest hypersensitivity to certain electromagnetic frequencies." "Exactly," Ilara nodded. "When our maintenance crew was working near their quarters with standard EM tools, 2 Arcturians reported what they called discomfort. At the time, we thought it was due to the noise. But the data suggests their nervous systems experience intense pain when exposed to specific EM bands." "A weakness," Rivera said, his eyes lighting up with the first hope they'd felt since the attack. "Potentially," Ilara cautioned. "But we need more information, and we need to establish contact with other survivors. There must be more like us who escaped the initial attack." Over the next 3 weeks, they transformed the mining facility into a makeshift base. Using salvaged equipment and the facility's old communication array, they established a secure channel using an outdated mining company frequency that the Arcturians would likely overlook. Their first contact came from a research vessel hiding in Saturn's rings. Then a military patrol that had been on training maneuvers in the Kuiper Belt, a lunar mining crew, a Mars colonial defense unit that had gone dark rather than surrender. Slowly, a network formed. Ilara learned that Earth was under full Arcturian control. Humans were being processed, registered, implanted with tracking devices, and assigned to labor units. Resistance was met with swift elimination. The Arcturians' technology seemed insurmountable. But there were weaknesses. Reports confirmed Ilara's findings about electromagnetic sensitivity. An engineering team on Europa had discovered that certain frequencies could temporarily disrupt Arcturian technology. A scientist on Luna had observed that their ship's seemingly impenetrable hulls became vulnerable after exposure to Saturn's specific radiation bands. "They're not invincible," Ilara told her growing resistance cell. "They just prepared better than we did." 2 months after Earth's surrender, Ilara authorized their first mission. A small team led by Rivera would infiltrate an Arcturian processing center on Mars to gather intelligence and, if possible, liberate humans awaiting processing. The mission succeeded beyond expectations. Rivera returned with 40 liberated civilians and critical data about Arcturian protocols. More importantly, they had tested a prototype EM disruptor that had incapacitated the Arcturian guards without harming humans. "It works," Rivera reported, the excitement clear in his voice. "They collapsed in seconds. Their skin turned gray and they couldn't coordinate their movements." Ilara studied the mission recordings. "How long did the effect last?" "About 3 minutes after we turned off the device. Long enough to secure the facility and free the prisoners." The resistance grew bolder. Small victories accumulated across the solar system. An Arcturian communication relay destroyed. A transport ship captured. A processing center liberated. But Ilara knew these were merely annoyances to the vast Arcturus collective. 6 months into the occupation, their breakthrough came. A team infiltrating an Arcturian command center on Phobos discovered detailed plans for the processing of humanity. "It's not just about labor," Ilara told her senior team as they reviewed the stolen files. "They're harvesting compatible humans for neural integration. They're looking for biological components to enhance their collective consciousness. That's why they're so interested in our brains," Dr. Zhang realized. "Human neural plasticity is unique among the species they've encountered, and that's why they need us alive and minimally damaged," Ilara added, "which gives us leverage." Using the combined knowledge gathered from resistance cells throughout the solar system, they developed a 3-phase plan. Phase 1, develop and distribute EM disruptors to all resistance cells. Phase 2, simultaneously target Arcturian command and control facilities across the system. Phase 3, strike at their main processing center on Earth. "We'll only get one chance at this," Ilara told her commanders during their final briefing. "If we fail, they'll adapt their defenses against our advantage." "And if we succeed?" asked Rivera. Ilara's expression was grim but determined. "Then humanity shows the Arcturus collective that we won't be processed, controlled, or harvested, that we are not as defenseless as they thought." As the resistance prepared for their coordinated attack, Ilara recorded a message to be broadcast across all Earth frequencies once the operation began. "People of Earth, you are not alone. You have not been abandoned. The surrender of our leaders was not the end of humanity's fight. Today we strike back against those who thought they could subjugate our species. Today we show the stars that humans do not bow, do not break, and do not surrender." She paused, thinking of all they had lost and all that remained at stake. "Today, we become the last line of defense, not just for ourselves, but for all who would resist tyranny among the stars." Humanity's stand, the Arcturian Processing Center in what was once Beijing, sprawled across the former Olympic Park, its alien architecture an unsettling contrast to the human buildings surrounding it. Commander Ilara Chen, disguised in the gray, coveralls of processed workers, moved through the crowded intake area, her eyes constantly scanning for guards. The neural disruptor, barely larger than an old-fashioned wristwatch, was hidden beneath her sleeve. Dr. Zhang walked several paces. Behind her, similarly disguised. Their objective was the command center located in the central spire, but first, they needed to disable the facility's internal security network. "Processing Station 7, announced an automated voice. "All humans report for neural assessment." Ilara joined the shuffling line of defeated-looking humans. Many had the vacant stare of those who had given up hope. She made brief eye contact with a young woman near the front of the line, giving the almost imperceptible nod they had established. as their recognition signal among resistance members. The woman, Specialist Adama from the Luna cell, returned the gesture. When they reached the security checkpoint, Ilara activated the disruptor. The effect was immediate. The two Arcturian guards stiffened, their iridescent skin clouding to a dull gray. They collapsed to the ground, their limbs twitching uncontrollably. "Now!" Ilara commanded. Throughout the processing line, nearly 30 disguised resistance fighters revealed concealed weapons and disruptors. The few humans who weren't part of the operation looked on in shock as their supposed fellow prisoners suddenly took control. "Secure the entrance," Ilara ordered as she retrieved the fallen guard's access keys. "Zhang with me." They moved swiftly through the facility, disabling Arcturian personnel as they encountered them. The Resistance had timed their attack to coincide with similar operations across the globe and throughout the solar system. Reports were already coming in through their secure communications. Success in New York, partial control in Moscow, heavy resistance in Lagos, but progressing. The central control room was located at the top of the spire. As they ascended in the lift, Dr. Zhang checked her tablet. "The EM shield is ready. Once we activate it from here, the entire complex will be blanketed with the frequency that disrupts their nervous systems. And our people? The implants we developed should protect our teams from any side effects." The lift doors opened to reveal an expansive circular room dominated by holographic displays, showing various parts of the facility and, more disturbingly, detailed neural maps of human brains. 3 Arcturians turned toward them. Unlike the guards, below these wore ornate vestments that shifted through complex color patterns, marking them as overseers. Before they could react, Ilara and Zhang activated their disruptors at maximum output. 2 of the overseers collapsed immediately, but the third, larger than any Arcturian Ilara had seen before, staggered but remained standing. Its skin flickered, between colors fighting against the disruptive frequency. "Humans," it spoke, voice distorted with pain. "You cannot comprehend what you oppose." Ilara approached cautiously, weapon raised. "We comprehend enough. You came in peace, studied our weaknesses, then attacked when we trusted you. Trust is inefficient." The overseer struggled to maintain its composure. "Your species has potential. Selected neural patterns will serve the collective. The rest are unnecessary." "That's where you miscalculated," Ilara replied, moving toward the central console. "Humans don't accept being categorized as necessary or unnecessary. We fight for every life." She reached the main control panel and inserted the data spike their technical team had prepared. The facility's systems recognized it as authorized Arcturian technology, another advantage of their months of intelligence gathering. "Activation code accepted," announced the system in the Arcturians' melodic language, which Ilara now understood. After months of study, neural containment protocols disengaged. Throughout the facility, the holding cells where humans awaited processing opened simultaneously. Resistance fighters who had infiltrated the worker population began distributing weapons and leading people to predetermined evacuation routes. The overseer lunged toward Ilara with surprising speed despite its impaired state. "You cannot prevail. The collective spans galaxies." Zhang fired her weapon, catching the Arcturian in what they had identified as a vulnerable joint. It collapsed, its skin cycling rapidly through colors. "Perhaps," Ilara acknowledged as she completed the activation sequence for the EM shield, "but you won't be harvesting humans to help you do it." The holographic displays showed chaos erupting throughout the facility as the shield activated. Every Arcturian within the complex was now incapacitated by the targeted electromagnetic frequency. Similar reports were coming in from resistance cells worldwide. Ilara opened a channel to the global resistance network. Phase 2 complete. Begin Phase 3. Phase 3 was the most ambitious part of their plan. Using the Arcturians' own communication technology, they would broadcast the EM frequency that disrupted Arcturian nervous systems to every ship and facility in Earth, orbit, and beyond. The main console blinked as the transmission began. On the displays they watched as Arcturian ships in orbit began drifting out of formation as their crews were incapacitated. Ground facilities across all continents reported similar success. Within hours, the initial shock of the resistance attack had transformed into a full-scale liberation. 3 days later, Ilara stood in what had once been the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Representatives from resistance cells around the world had gathered, along with the few government officials who had opposed the surrender and gone into hiding. "The Arcturian fleet is retreating," she announced. "Our surveillance shows they've abandoned their processing centers on Mars and the Moon as well, but they'll be back, and possibly with countermeasures against our current advantage." "Let them come," said Rivera, now leading the North American resistance. "We're not the same unprepared civilization they first encountered." Ilara nodded. "We've secured their technology and are already reverse engineering it. More importantly, we've established communication with 3 other species who have suffered under Arcturian harvesting operations. They're offering alliance and technology. Exchange. Genuine exchange, not the false promises we received before." A former Earth government official stood. "Commander Chen, the provisional government wishes to offer you command of Earth's new defense force. Your leadership during the occupation has earned humanity's trust." Ilara looked around the room at the faces of those who had fought alongside her, humans who had refused to accept defeat, who had risked everything to protect their species' independence. She thought of the crew members she had lost at Epsilon Station who never got to see this day. "I accept with one condition," she replied. "We don't just rebuild our defenses, we transform them." The Arcturus Collective believed they could categorize us, process us, use us. They saw us as a resource to be harvested or discarded. They failed to understand that every human life has value, has potential, has the right to exist on its own terms. She stepped to the center of the chamber. "Our new defense force will stand not just for humanity, but for this principle throughout the stars. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will oppose any force that seeks to categorize sentient beings as mere resources." The room erupted in applause. Even as they celebrated, Ilara knew the challenges ahead would be immense. The Arcturus Collective would return, possibly with new tactics. Other threats might emerge from the depths of space, but humanity had proven itself more resilient than anyone, including themselves, had believed possible. 6 months later, a consolidated Earth defense fleet held position near the orbit of Neptune. Long-range sensors had detected an approaching Arcturian diplomatic vessel, smaller than their warships, broadcasting on open frequencies. Ilara, now Admiral Chen, stood on the bridge of the EDF Defiance, Earth's first starship built with incorporated Arcturian technology. "They're requesting communication, Admiral," reported her communications officer. "On screen," Ilara ordered. Overseer Talix, the same Arcturian who had led the initial diplomatic mission to Epsilon Station, appeared on the main display. His skin patterns showed more subdued colors than before. "Commander Chen, or should I say Admiral Chen now," he began, his voice lacking its former condescension. "State your purpose, Overseer," Ilara replied coolly. "The Collective has reassessed its approach to human integration," Talix said carefully. "We propose a genuine alliance, an exchange of knowledge and resources that would benefit both our species." "Without the neural harvesting?" Ilara asked pointedly. Talix's skin rippled with what she now recognized as discomfort. "Alternative arrangements can be negotiated." Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "The terms of any negotiation will include representatives from the Proxima Coalition, the alliance we've formed with other species your collective has approached in the past." "That would be unprecedented," Talix objected. "As was our successful resistance," Ilara countered. "Humanity has shown what a supposedly lesser species can accomplish when united against subjugation. The stars have more to fear from us than we from them if forced to defend ourselves. Remember that in your negotiations." As the communication ended, Ilara gazed at the stars visible through the bridge viewport. In just 1 year, Humanity had gone from near subjugation to becoming a recognized power among interstellar civilizations. Send word to the Coalition, she told her first officer. Tell them the Arcturians are ready to negotiate as equals this time. Humanity had become what no one expected, the last line of defense for those who faced cosmic bullies like the Arcturus Collective. And in doing so, they had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as the conquered, but as defenders of the simple principle that had driven their resistance from the beginning. Every sentient being deserved the right to determine their own destiny. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity.